Ray needles a bulb over a cage door in an alley that smells like wet brick and gun oil. 40 feet down, a man laughs into his phone. 3 drinks pass careful. 2 fingers rest on a trigger that has never once trembled. Not tonight, not any night. Don't blink. Count his steps. The laugh cuts off mid-word. You want out of this life before you're even properly in it. You don't know yet that out isn't a door. Down here, there's a rule nobody says out loud until it's too late to matter. The trigger is the easy part. It's the retiring that kills you. Your mother, Ruth, works the counter at Dino's, 11-hour shifts, a name tag gone gray at the edges that still says Ruth in gold thread. $18,000 bought her second surgery. You borrowed it from men who round the interest up every month like a hobby. $400 a week just to keep the number from growing. That's the whole plan. It isn't working. The VIG comes due on a Tuesday. And so does a man named Costa, built like a refrigerator, patient in the specific way that means he isn't worried. He doesn't raise his voice. He tells you the number that ends this, pay it, or start earning it a different way. Behind him, unbothered, an old man in a canvas coat has been listening the whole time. But the old man's name is Emil. He doesn't ask if you've done this before. He already knows you haven't. He walks you to a fenced yard behind a scrapyard, paper targets, a stopwatch, patience worn into every line of his face. He teaches you to count brass off concrete by the sound alone. Your hands don't shake. They never have. He notices that first. There's no last job. Only a last name you don't come back from. Emil hands you a folder, 1 photograph clipped to a name, a bookie skimming for men who don't get skimmed. You pin it to a corkboard and study it the way you'd study a locked door. Angles, hours, the smell of his cigar through a cracked window. The number in your head isn't the $5,000. It's the 18 you still owe, shrinking for the first time in a year. So the docks at 2 a.m. smell like diesel and low tide. He comes out of the warehouse office counting bills he thinks are his. You don't say his name. You don't let him finish turning around. 1 shot, the gulls scatter, his cigar still smoking in an ashtray nobody will ever find. Walk. Don't run. Count the boats until your pulse remembers how to slow down. Emil counts the 5,000 into your palm under a bulb that swings when the door shuts. Brass off concrete, bills off a thumb. The same rhythm, he says the same steady count. You keep 400 for the VIG and mail the rest to Ruth's account with no note. She calls to ask where it came from. You let it ring. Your hands, counting the bills back, still don't shake. You're a regular now, tailing men down wet streets for a week before you ever touch a weapon, learning which doorways hide you and which ones don't. Emil says most of this life is patience, not shooting, a rehearsal for a moment that never quite arrives. Most killers get caught. Most botch it. Don't be most. The other journeymen drink at a social club 2 blocks off the water, and the talk turns, the way it always does, to a British study Emil quotes like scripture. The average real contract killing pays about $20,000. Most killers are ordinary men in their late 30s, and the youngest ever caught for one was 15. Nobody at the bar laughs. The romance of this life is a rumor. The math isn't. A journeyman named Voss buys you a dinner you didn't ask for, red sauce, and a bottle he opens without asking. He's younger, hungrier, keeps score of whose name gets called first. He smiles the whole meal like it cost him nothing. Word is he flinched on his second job and has lied about it since. You don't mention that. Not yet. Some debts you save. A witness half remembers a jacket, a height, a walk. Fed set up in a rented room 2 blocks from the last job. Reels turning, a wall of photographs that almost has your face on it. It doesn't. You change your coat, your gait, the hand you carry with. Clothes is not the same as caught. Clothes just means the next one has to be cleaner than this one was. So a lawyer named March finds you after, unbothered, unhurried, a man who has never once raised his voice about anything. He doesn't work one family. He brokers for whoever can pay, a cutout so clean no chain traces back through him. He slides a card across a bare table. No name on it, just a number. The family was small. The work, starting now, is not. March's jobs don't come with names anymore, just coordinates and a photograph left under a park bench at dawn. You're not the muscle now. You're the cleanup, the version of you that leaves nothing. No brass on a floor, no thumbprint on a bulb, no thread to pull. $60,000 for a silence, so total the client never has to ask what happened. Here's the part civilians get wrong. The FBI runs 70 to 90 of these cases a year, and the professional most people find online is a retired cop logging an IP address for a few $100s. Real work doesn't advertise. Real work finds you, the way March found you, and hands you a folder across a car seat, telling you once not to open it here. $250,000, the highest number of your life, for a name March says is guarded, valuable, dangerous to the wrong people. The folder rides the passenger seat like something that might wake up. Rain starts. The wipers count time you don't have. Your hands on the wheel are perfectly steady. For once in your life, you wish they weren't. You open the folder at a red light. One photograph. The face looking back is the one that taught you to count brass off concrete by the sound alone. Emile talked, or Emile tried to leave. March never says which, and it stops mattering the second you understand the assignment has your own teacher's name typed at the top of the page, in the same font as all the others. But the fenced yard behind the scrapyard hasn't changed. Same paper targets, same stopwatch rusted at 4:10. Emile is waiting like he already knew, hands loose at his sides, and says only that he always figured it would be you, and that he's glad, in a way, that it is. Count the brass, he told you once. You do. For the first time in your life, your hands are not steady at all. So the money lands the same day, clean, exactly as promised, and it is the first payment that has ever felt like a theft instead of a wage. Emile's stool at the diner counter sits empty now. Ruth still fills his coffee out of habit and asks, once out loud, where the old man's gotten to. You tell her you don't know. Your hands go back to steady by morning. That's the part that should scare you. March's next call comes from a client who doesn't do paperwork, doesn't do names, doesn't exist on any form you've ever filled out. $1 million, wired in 3 pieces for a man who will never again be a problem to people who don't get to have problems. You fly out on a passport with a name that isn't yours. Voss finds out and can't hide how it eats at him. You'll flinch eventually. Everyone flinches once. I only did. But the client's office smells like cedar and old paper. No photographs on the walls. No clock. A man in a good suit explains, without ever using a verb that means killing, exactly what needs to stop happening. You've learned the language by now. The water is a leak, the man is a fire, and you are, without a word ever said to that effect, the fix for both. It is a job title nobody prints on a card. From 40 floors up a foreign city, the streetlights look like brass scattered on a dark floor, more of it than you could ever count. You used to know exactly how many names sat between you and the $18,000 that started this. You've lost count completely. Somewhere below, a woman named Ruth is refilling a coffee cup for a stool nobody sits at anymore. Some nights the fear isn't the next job. It's a cell you've never occupied. Imagined so often it feels like a memory already. Wiretaps, informants, a jacket that doesn't fit the description just well enough. Emile never went inside once in 30 years, and Emile is dead by your own hand, which means the cage was never the real danger in this life at all. So March sits you down with men older than Emile ever got to be, faces you've only heard described. They offer you the desk. Stop pulling triggers, start assigning them. 12% of every contract that runs through your name instead of your hand is called retiring. Nobody at the table laughs when they say it, which is exactly how you know it isn't true. Voss wants the desk himself, and he's done waiting his turn behind a man who got there by killing his own teacher. He comes at you in a back room over a card table that stops being a card table fast, a chair thrown, a blade that catches lamplight, a mistake he makes exactly once. Your hands, through all of it, do not shake. Voss's do at the end. That's new. So you sign the one-page March slides over, and the trigger part of your life ends on a Tuesday with a pen instead of a gun. You're the desk now. Every name that goes out carries your percentage and none of your fingerprints. It is the closest thing this life offers to daylight. It is not daylight. You just stopped standing where the shadow falls. The ledger March finally shows you is thicker than you expected and older than you are. Decades of names, fees, dates, cities, none of it in his handwriting. He didn't build this. He services it the way you service a small piece of it now. Above every desk, it turns out, is another desk. You ask for the first time, who actually owns the book? He doesn't answer. The silence that follows is the longest one he's ever let stand between you. Rain needles a bulb over a cage door in an alley that smells like wet brick and gun oil. The same alley, you'd swear, though it can't be. 40 feet down, a man laughs into his phone. 3 drinks past careful. This name came from your own desk, assigned to a shooter you trained yourself. From the mouth of the alley, his hands do the part yours used to. Yours, for once, have nothing to do. But March finds you the next morning with a folder he doesn't want to hand over. $2 million, wired in 3 pieces for a man who has run this desk too long and knows too much to be trusted with retiring. You don't get a pension. You don't get a gold watch. You don't get to just stop. You get a price, same as everyone before you, typed in the same font. You sit at the restaurant table where Voss once bought you a dinner you didn't ask for, and the chair across from you stays empty on purpose now. March orders for one. He tells you, gently, the way you tell a patient the worst news last, that the real book, the one that actually matters, was never his to show you. The Dutchman keeps the true book. Nobody's ever seen him. Best you don't start now. Across town, in a diner that still takes cash, a broke kid folds a past-due notice under a coffee mug and does the math on $18,000 for the 10th time that week. An old man in a canvas coat sits down uninvited, unhurried, patient in the way that means he isn't worried. The kid's hands, wrapped around a cheap cup, are shaking. Nobody warns him that's the part that fixes itself. From a car across the street, the exchange plays out exactly the way yours did years back, and you don't get out. Ruth's name tag still hangs by a door you paid off years ago and never once walked back through. Your hands rest on the wheel, steady, the way they've always been, the one part of you this life never managed to touch. There was never a door out. There was only ever the next name.